test. We're checking it out. You want to talk a little bit? Just test.
It's good, I think.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the stream. It's Wednesday. It's 8 p.m., 8:05 or 7 to be exact. We're here. We're talking about boxes. Talking about box switches. What is up, Mr. Chewy?
I'm not much. Just playing with a box switch on my switch tester. That's what I'm holding.
Ooh.
You know, dude.
I've got some.
new caps.
Ooh.
Showing them off. Little Krelbit caps. Krelbit, I don't know if he's in the stream or not, but shout out to Krelbit. Building the tofu as you watch. I can think of no better way to build a board than to listen to us talk about switches you're probably not putting on the board.
Yeah, probably not. Being real, box switches they've gone down in in the popularity in recent months, but we feel like they're pretty good. They need a little bit more love than they get.
I need to build another box board.
Yeah,
I might do that soon. I need to try lubing box switches. That's really what I need to do.
I've always excuse me, I've always been interested in how a lubed box royal would feel.
Yep. So who's here? Let's just run down the list. Skeever Assassin, aka I believe that's Magic Gnome. Welcome, Talisman Solutions, William, Kennick, Moon, a couple other people filtering in. Welcome.
Welcome to the stream. If it's your first time here, we're Mechs on deck. I'm Osiris, aka Eric. This is Chewy,
aka DeVito.
DeVito, yeah. Don't call him anything other than DeVito. He gets mad.
Super angry.
But yeah. One thing, I want to thank Talisman Solution for the 11 bits just before we went live. Appreciate it, my dude. Appreciate those
and
babies.
external welcome. We are solving the issue that is the bot going on a rampage. So
yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. I'm not sure why it thought you were in a completely different Discord and linked you to someone completely not us.
Who knows? Let's see. Lubed Helios, welcome. So quick shout out. I don't know if they're here or not, but we got some follows off stream. Shoba.wad, who joined our Discord. Talk to you today as well. Heels for Meals, Belusov, Hiptacular Raptor.
That's a
name.
That is an
Hiptacular
awesome
Raptor.
name.
If Hiptacular Raptor is here, so we need a name of the month.
Name of the month, yeah.
Name of the month. But yeah, welcome to the stream. Like we said, we're going to talk about some box switches. We got some cool news coming up later. If you have not, be sure to join us on our Discord. Be sure to sub to our YouTube channel for more content. And just come hang out. We're fun. I was looking at the bot page, and it like tells you, oh, this is how many messages. Since I set the bot up, it tells you like, oh, this is how many messages that like people have talked or people have said.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm in first place because I'm on here all the time and I'm not working at the moment because I'm off for the summer. But it's really funny because we talk. I didn't realize how many messages we send, and it is also funnier that Osiris is number 7. Talk more.
I do need to be a little bit more active in the Discord. I have some days that I'm in there a ton, but then other days where I just like am barely in there at all. I definitely need to pick it up. with work and everything, it's hard in the 9 to 5, and then I come home. Days like yesterday where I come home and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to bed. So, but
If
yeah.
you're curious, number 2 is Metallic Charles. Number 3 is Moon. So, anyway, so let's get started on box switches.
Talking about boxes.
Talking about boxes. So, what is a box? Why is it called a box switch?
Well,
Because it might not be what you think it is.
some would think because of the stem.
Some. Sorry, we're just being awkward. So, a box switch. I've been trying to like peel one of these open with my fingernails for the last like minute. But a box switch is not it has a like a lot of the main benefit to it is a lot of it is dust free. So what I'm gonna do, I don't know how well this is going to. I need to actually like
Here, I have one.
look at my video. But yeah. There. So that light is probably too harsh, but
It's okay. I'm showing the bottom. I'm showing the bottom.
You got the. So basically, the inside and where the leaf is inside of a little box. So instead of there being a external, like on a cherry, where everything's just kind of inside the bottom of the switch, there is actually a little box. And what that does is that prevents dust from getting inside, and allows you to have this kind of stem shape that is very abnormal. I will put that back together in a second when I can actually focus. So what that does with this stem box size is adds a lot of unique features to them, that some good, some bad, or maybe not good or bad, but more just personal preference. But it does create some interesting, there are some very interesting switches that have arisen from them, but that is why it's called a box switch. It is very good with dust. It's not waterproof, but it is very good against water.
I think the correct term that they use is water resistant.
Resistant. So there is a little hole on the bottom that kind of lets dust, and if water is spilled in there, it will drain out the bottom. Now that's not to say that it won't ruin your PCB if you dump a water bottle on your keyboard, but your switches might be reusable. So
yeah. It's one of those things that also makes it like easier to clean if you were to spill something like Coke in there, because it's not all exposed. You just take the spring out and you can clean out that the area outside of the box. So it makes it a little bit easier to get in there, clean it up, and use those switches again.
Yeah, absolutely. So benefits and just parts of it, the stem is this entire square part, and the rest of it's pretty simple. It's a kale housing. So instead of having 4 little prongs hooking in, they have these 2 kind of larger prongs to them, making them an interesting experience to open. They can be, they are what they are to open, but they can be slightly difficult or slightly easier depending on the person. But yeah, so pros. One of the best parts of having a box switch is added stability when it comes to wobble.
Yeah, the box switches have like, if you were to say 0 wobble, that'd be incorrect. It's just like basically impossible to have 0 wobble. But it's the closest thing that I've personally ever felt, and I think is probably the closest to 0 of anything on the market right now. Um, they're insanely consistent just for the way that the stem is created. There's very little room for movement, so it's a consistent switch and a extremely low wobble switch altogether.
Yeah. So, and some other pros to switches. They arguably have the best clicky switch when it comes to feel and sound due to their design. We'll go into this in a little bit more, but due to their design, they're able to play with that a little bit. And they're also, for the most part, a little bit cheaper than some other switches that I think they compete with for sure. I'm not going to say that box switches are the best switches, but there are some that I think get overlooked when people are looking to buy switches, and including myself. I'm not one to admit that I've definitely found switches that I sometimes overlook whenever I'm thinking about what switches to put into a board, but that's just something that happens with all switches. Is sometimes you just forget there's so many out there.
Yeah.
There's so many types of switches and so many different switches out there that it's hard to really like pin down which ones you might want to use, and especially if you are someone who might only own one or two boards and maybe doesn't own a hot swap board or something, that might not be your first choice. So
yeah, and the thing that I think Kale did a good job of when they first released the kind of box line is they made switches. They didn't make variants like that didn't already exist. They made like the black, brown, red, and white, which already existed within the Kale lineup. They just made them in a box variant, so then that way, if you are someone who's looking at, thinking about getting like even something like a cherry brown or a cherry red board, you can get a box variant and have that added stability for the wobble and get that little dust proof / water resistance action going on in your board that'll help out a little bit.
Yeah.
And I see people talking a little bit about the different tooling that happened. We'll get into that later, but I see some questions. It's been fixed since
it has been fixed
since it happened.
So cons, to all switches there are pros and cons. I will say one of the cons that I think there are a few that do kind of drive me away, but one is there is some keycap tilt. So due to how these are mounted, there can be some slight variance with the keycaps not being completely even. And that's something that, they're unable to really, you can't, so it's kind of, you just kind of get lucky if they're all perfect. But there is a little bit of tilt on them just because sometimes the stem is just not going to be 100% perfect. What is up, Gently Bean? Is that the Kazaa monkey? Because that looks like the Kazaa monkey. Sorry, throwback to like 2004. So, and then the tolerances when these are in the switch plate can actually be really, really, really tight and harder to remove. So that can be an issue.
Yeah. I would say another con is you can't, and this is with a lot of the Kale switches, a lot of the Kale line. I don't believe these come in a PCB mount option, so you're locked to being in a plate. You can't do a plateless build. If you do like a half plate build, like that's been a big thing the past couple months. Box switches probably aren't going to be the best for that. It's not really gonna work out too well. You want to have a plate with them, or else they're going to be kind of really inconsistent in terms of in terms of the way that they're spaced out. When you put your keycaps on, you might have some things rubbing together even more so than the keycap tilt they already provide. And that's kind of one of the downsides of like a Kale housing is some of them just don't have PCB mounts if that's your jam.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, there's sorry, accidentally muted myself because I'm good at this streaming thing, right? But yeah, that's always something that I am starting to realize. With using holy pandas and putting them in hot swap boards with plates that are what's the word I'm looking for? Just multi layout plates, not a fixed layout plate, or standardized plate. That with hot swaps, because you cannot solder them in, you can get some wobble because they're not as secure as having, there are only 3 points that pop in, and with hot swaps they're not soldered in, so they have some wiggle already. And then if you take away those 2 prongs, that's something that's kind of a little deeper into, we could dive deeper into PCB versus plate mount switches, but that's not something that I am a big fan of. I like having the PCB mount holes or PCB mount pins. So, unfortunately, that's just something that they have not had, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
But outside of that, they take a little more lube to lube. I don't know exactly how to lube switches 100% when it comes to box switches, but yeah, what in the world?
Holy crap! Metallic Charles with 1,000
Metallic
bits.
Charles with 1,000 bits.
Definitely appreciate it, my dude. Thank you so
Pride
much.
give. Huge shout out.
Have this stick. Thank you. We appreciate it very much.
Very, very much. Big time donation. But yeah, well, we've been kind of on the we've been feeling blue about these switches. We've been talking about pros or cons too much, and I don't want to deter anyone away from getting box switches. Like, they're not inherently bad. They just do have some issues that other switches you don't run into. But with some of those switches, you run into issues that the box switches don't have. So, especially when it comes to like wobble. So,
to answer Ginley Bean, she had a question of, is there a trick to opening Kale housings? Do you struggle with them as opposed to cherry housings? I will say personally, because I've opened quite a few of these, this is what I do. If I don't have like a switch opener, this is what I did to lube all of both Chewy and Mai's original boards. I have a pair of tweezers. That's what these are called, I think. But they're ceramic tweezers. I push them in on one side just a little bit, push it in on the other side just a little bit, and then hold the housing. I don't want the top to go everywhere, and then push up, and it flies everywhere because I'm not holding it because it's not in a good place. But now I have to find those, but that works, as you can see. If you put something on either side and then just kind of push up like as if it was like a switch opener, that will help out a lot. It'll really help out a lot. You just gotta make sure, unlike I was, hold the top so that way when the spring comes out, not everything flies everywhere.
yeah, I just did that sort of. You can do it with your nail too. Don't recommend it. But if you are desperate, then you absolutely can do it with your nail. But yeah, I think that's kind of the secret with tweezers. They also make little housing or little switch openers. We started to see with the influx of how many holy pandas are being produced. the Halo switches from Mass Drop or Drop. Sorry, my apologies. Drop.com. Those are Kale housings. So more and more people are starting to make switch openers that include the Kale style housing opener as well. So anyway, moving on. I think the first thing is you can't talk about box switches without talking about freaking
That
clicky switches.
click.
That thick click. I think that there was kind of a revolution of clicky switch. So a lot of people, when you get into mechanical keyboards, a lot of people do really like. A lot of people really like the idea of when you type on something, it kind of being like, oh, you hear it. And if you're coming from a rubber dome keyboard and then you go and type on a clicky switch like a razor green or cherry green or cherry blue, you're kind of like, oh, that's unique and different. And I think that, kind of my first experience with mechanical keyboards outside of probably like some keyboard I typed on in the 90s was a razor. It had razor greens in it. It was clicky and I really enjoyed it. Shout out to Willio for telling me when I was switching over to PC gaming. He was like, you have to get a mechanical keyboard. So
Which then in turn, Chewy told me when we were in Micro Center, he's like, you got to get a mechanical keyboard. You can't do it with like a regular keyboard. So I did.
So there you go. It all started with Willio. Custom started with Eric, but Willio got us off the train. So anyway, but yes, so the revolution of the clicky switch. Basically, what they were able to do is create a click bar, which if I don't have like you can see this on like a big switch, or if you've got one, you can see it. There are videos as well, but basically, a click jacket means part of the stem separates, and then when it hits the tactile bump, that jacket closes back up. And so what you're hearing is that locking that slamming of the two parts of the stem from the click jacket, but that's two light pieces of plastic hitting together. And basically what a click bar does is on the stem there's a little knob and then there's a click bar. And so what happens when you press, it hits the click bar, and that's what you feel as tactility. And then it presses down and bends. And then when you press all the way down, it releases the click bar, and the click bar hits the another part of the housing. And that's what you hear is that click. And then when it comes back up, it does the same thing. So when it resets, it's that click bar. So what this creates is a better tactile experience, and better is the wrong word, but I will say objectively, it is a more tactile experience, and a much louder and much more precise and crisp click. Hence the name Clicky Switch.
Yeah, it's definitely, we joked a little bit about this in the last episode with Quakeums about how clicky switches don't get a lot of love, and they haven't seen a lot of innovation in the past, probably a year and a half or so since the box navies.
Yeah, clicky switches, outside of like the box pinks.
Yeah, which is just a redo of a existing switch.
I mean, they're just redos, but yeah, once that was kind of the revolution into that. So
yeah, the kind of the click bar was the first time in a long time that someone had gone from the jacket to something different, and it's a very simple thought process. I can't believe it wasn't really a big thing before. It's a very simple design, but it sounds really cool and it feels nice. It's a much more tactile, and with some of the thinner, the non-thick click switches, like the box whites or the what are the other ones? The Are they the bronzes? I believe the speed
Uh,
ones
the
or
speed ones actually
coppers.
do have a click bar.
No, they have the click bar, but it's thinner, so
Yeah,
you almost barely
yeah,
feel it. It doesn't add a ton of tactility, so it's
yeah. And the
cool.
pale blue's the other one that has the thinner click bar.
Yeah, it's cool to have that variance with just the click bar alone changing the tactility of the switches. So there is a lot of difference that you can get with the clicky switches from Kale in terms of the box um, line. So the non-thick click, as Willio just said, um, it's really nice. It
Mm-hmm.
sounds good, and that's the other thing is a lot of times the clicky of like a blue or a green, or even the
Jade.
well, no. I'm talking about like the cherry
Oh,
equivalents,
Cherry MX.
the click
Okay.
jacket ones. They don't sound. They're not as pleasing of a sound. It's a real pingy, gross sound. They just don't sound good. Whereas these sound much better. They are very loud though. Do not recommend these for. Don't recommend Jades or especially
Any of the
box
click, any
navies.
click, yeah, especially box navies, but any click bar
Yeah,
in an
an
open
office.
office environment,
Everyone will
or
hate
even
you.
just having someone that doesn't hate it religiously or is like okay with it right off the bat, I just wouldn't recommend. So, my wife uses box jades though on one of her boards.
She
So,
does.
and I don't mind it.
I mean, it's not that loud when you have like your headset on and everything, but if you're going ham with it, like if you're in an office and you're like trying to be on the phone, I could see being like, really, dude, come on. Like you're hammering away on like a freaking 15-page essay and someone's trying to do like $1 million deal on the phone. You're like, I can't concentrate. Please stop.
So, but that was kind of the revolution and um, something that kind of slowed this process down. And we'll get into box royals because what happened after, I think the next big thing with box switches was after the navy and jade popularity, the box royal was released. Um, but unfortunately, in the summer of 2018, last year, people started noticing that the stems were pretty thick and they basically were cracking GMK keycaps as well as other keycaps. So essentially, what happened was the stem on a cherry stem, it's just a little X or T or cross, whatever you want to call it, um, was too thick for the keycap tolerance. And so when you put it on, and I even remember putting on keycaps on old box switches, and you would hear this little like, and that was the actual stem cracking. And GMK keycaps are not cheap, as I mean, anytime you spend any amount of money on anything, you shouldn't want it to break because of something else.
Well, it's not like
And so,
it's not like you can go out and replace your D key for GMK Nautilus, which is like a big
yeah,
set at the time. It's not like you could just get that one key from GMK. So
yeah.
it's pretty
So,
upsetting.
and it really wasn't anyone's fault. But there was just the issue of, well, you're selling me switches that could potentially break my keycap. So, um, luckily, and a big seller in this was Novel Keys. So he sells just an ungodly amount of box switches. He's also one of the main people when it came to the thick click switches and the box royals. Um, so luckily he stopped production and they found out that essentially what had happened was Kale had made switches for a long time with these tolerances for another company that for their keycaps it worked, but for GMK keycaps it did not work, and for most other keycaps it did not work. So basically they were like they had to come and realize that they needed to shrink down the size, and they did. But unfortunately, they have not really recovered 100%. Um, and I think for two reasons. One, people were still skeptical and mad. And I mean, I lost a keycap set. I lost Max Key SA Lime, unfortunately. I mean, the stems were too broken and I could not use them on any other keycap without, or any other switch. I couldn't put those keycaps on other switches because the switches were too small. And so they would literally, you'd be typing and they just pop off, which is not fun. So that mixed with Zelio V2 and the Holy Panda Revolution that we've talked about on our past episodes have kind of silenced box switches for now. And they haven't really, with Mike putting his focus on the cream switches and as well as the Yak switches, there just has not been a need for them right now. So
Yeah, and I think that was one thing. A lot of the credit of the box switch becoming as big as it was, because the clicky switch, when those box navies and jades, you literally couldn't go a day on mechanical keyboards, r/mechanical keyboards, and not see a box navy or box jade board. They were
yeah.
everywhere. And that is a lot in part to novel keys. And it was really, the box switch was a lot of, that was kind of the come up of novel keys. They were still relatively new at that point. They had been in kind of selling switches for like, I think might have even been less than a year at that point. And or just over a year when everything happened, and then the box gate happened. Like you said, the inconsistency really just, it screwed everything up. No one, it came out that it was fixed, but it got overshadowed. And it sucks because they're great switches and they always were really, really good switches. But
Yeah.
you stretch out your keycaps, they get too loose. Because I remember messing around with your Max Key, your SA Lime, and you showing me, and it was literally like you'd be typing, and if you like let go of a switch completely, like if you almost like flicked it, it would just shoot off the board a little bit.
Yep. You could just drag your hand across the keycaps and they would just pop up. So, but once again, they fixed the issues.
And they've been fixed for like 9-10 months now.
Almost a year. I mean, they got fixed in August, September. So, I would put, if it also, you run the risk of running into, if you buy them on like Mech Market, there's not really a way to tell. So, but someone in our Discord, Salt Rock Lamp, did say that there is a thing called the Cruciformer, that basically is a little tool that they made where you can like shave the stems of them, and it will like make sure that it's the tolerance is correct. So it's just like a little metal pin that you cram in there and shave it down some. But end of the day, I would put my keycap sets on as long as it's a retooled one. I don't know. The issue there though is they kind of died on Mech Market because you could never, you have to take someone's word, and you don't want to risk that. So,
well, and one thing that happened that we didn't touch on is the whole Boxgate thing happened in the middle of like, so similar to right now, like we have Olive, GMK Olive, which is running in tandem with a Olive themed Switch. In turn, when GMK Olivia happened last year, it ran in tandem with a Novelia's, which they then had to completely retool, I believe. That took longer. They had to retool all of them. And then that.
Luckily, it was only like 2 weeks, but yeah, they had to redo all the stems.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's crazy. And again, Novelia's, they're awesome. You probably can't find them because there wasn't that many of them, but they're pretty sweet. If you like heavy switches.
Novelia's are some of my favorite switches. Absolutely. And they look cool. They have a little pink bottom.
Yep.
Oh,
Little
my
pink butt.
light's a little harsh. I need to work on my light. I got a new light for the stream, and it's very harsh. So if I seem very pale, I am very pale, but I am looking more pale right now. So, but anyway, so we're going to move into some awesome switches that I believe are definitely top 10 contenders for me. Um, so honestly, box navies and box jades really did change the game. It really did change the game with clicky switches. I mean, they like Eric said earlier, you know, you couldn't go box navy was the switch to get in late 2017, early 2018. They were hard to obtain, and you know, you had to if you had to be paying attention to the Novel Keys website to be able to get them because they would sell out in minutes. But yeah, I mean, they were game changing. They were great. I had a box navy build. I'm not a fan of the box jades, which the only difference is spring weight. So there are box whites with a 60 gram actuate, or maybe it's 50 gram. I don't remember. But box whites and box jades are the same spring, but a different click bar. And then a box pale blue and a box navy, which is same spring, thicker click bar in the box navy. So I've built a board with box whites. I have built a board with box pale blues and I built a board with box navies. I love all the clickiness. And they are super tactile too. Like people talk about what's the most tactile switch. Box navies are up there. I mean, the click bar adds that tactility. Like it's there. People just forget that it's called a tactile clicky switch, not just a clicky switch. So they're like super tactile. If you're like, you know, need that tap for, you know, the most tactile switch, it's a very sharp bump because it's not even really a bump, but it's insanely tactile.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. You know, obviously you know this. We're both not the biggest fans of jades. We think they're good switches, but they're if we had to choose, it would be navies. I think for both of us. I know you had a navy board, but it was a little bit excessive.
Oh yeah, I had navies with the SA. It was amazing.
Yeah, talk about loud.
That was a typewriter.
But you know, I think if you are looking at getting clicky switches, if you're just remotely interested, buy some, at least get a sample pack of like box switches and try out the navies, jades, the whites, the different. I think it's the pale blue, the box pale blue. I think is the heavy.
Box pale blue. That's my favorite.
Yeah,
That's it's the heavyweight box white.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's like kind of a in between. Yeah, I know some people have had it. Hangman, they've had some issues with it. I think that's. I don't. I don't know. That's an interesting situation because I feel like there might be some other things going on there, but from my boards I've played with and both Chewy and I switches that we don't have any issues with any kind of stretching or cracked from the fixed.
Mm-hmm. I have switches. I had a Novelia build in my TX60, and I put multiple different keycap sets on it, and the Novelias had the retooled, and a lot of those caps went onto boards with Zelios and you know other switches, and I never had any issues. So
the stem shaver does work. The cruciformer, I believe, is what it's called. It's basically just like a knife that goes in and just shaves it to spec. So that's worth it. If you're someone who, you know, you have a lot of old box switches, buy a cruciformer. Or if you're someone who loves box switches and you're not really sure, buy a cruciformer, and then that way you can use that and then you can be fine. you will be sure at that point. You know, you can still use it on the fixed ones, as some people say, and be 100% sure that they're not going to damage uh, your GMK sets. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I would say I like the navies, but the the pale blues, we both like pale blue, the speed pale blue as well, which is the non-box version. So
Yeah. So Box Royals, Box Royals, like they shook up the market for a while because Box Royals are an incredibly tactile switch. Um, they're on par, I would say. It's a sharper tactility. It's a very sharp tactility, but it's not round like a Holy Panda. But when it comes to like bump size, their Box Royal was hanging in there absolutely. So I think that was kind of a huge step into maybe threatening the Holy Panda craze, and well, maybe not the Holy Panda craze, but they definitely were threatening Zeal switches at the time. And that was kind of the hot switch. Those came out in May and June of last year, so they're about a year old. And then to another extent, Novelias, which are basically uh, the Box Royal has a 75-gram bottom out spring. And the Novelia has a 95-gram bottom out spring. Um, so I mean, at the end, they say these were a one-time run only, but you can just buy 95-gram box springs and
make them.
just make Novelias, but they just won't look cool.
Well, they'll look like normal box royals.
Yep,
They just
box
won't. They won't
royals.
be. They won't be rose gold.
It won't be that nice little rose gold. So I bought like 250 of the of the Novelia. I think I only have like 100. I think I have enough for 2 boards now, but yeah, it was um, it's a I love the Novelias. I have not made a true like favorite switch because I'm having a hard time deciding on. I've been wanting to make a little like list of like these are my top 10 switches, but I'm trying to decide because I have like 3 different Holy Pandas that I use and they all have different springs, and I don't know how like different that would make, and it kind of makes it awkward for like this is my 7th favorite switch, but the top 3 are all Holy Pandas, but Novelias are up there. Um, so I mean they're super tactile and they feel great, and my wife uses them on her Tokyo 60. Um, Fantastic switch. I love typing on her board. So she gets annoyed with me whenever I do type on her board sometimes because she's just like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just experiencing the Velias again."
Yeah, and then there was the switch that caught the short end of the stick. The
Rip.
Heiko Box Royal. It kind of, they're great switches. They're still available. You can still get them. But it came out like right around the same time as the switch gate or box gate happened. So
So story time really quick. I bought Heiko Box Royals. I built that board, soldered it and everything. And then 3 days later, that came out. So I slapped Max Key Lime on it and sold it as is.
I
sold it
remember
to a
that.
guy. Sold it to a guy, and I was like, dude, full disclosure. Like, if you take the like, you might want to just super glue the keycaps to these switches because it might not work if you pop them off again. And sold it to him for a huge discount, but got rid of the board. But I have some new ones. I built that. I actually sold that one, but that was more of a getting rid of half of my collection of keyboards. But I plan on, I need to like revisit the box acre. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, and we're talking, about the trues and clears versions of these switches that came out. Not to be mixed up with the Royal The naming scheme time kind of made it a little bit confusing if you don't know what you're looking at. Like if you're just looking at names and you're not looking at like pictures or anything, it can get mixed up. The Box Royal is the purple one. The Heiko Royal are the true and the clear variants.
Pink and clear. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what people make pandas out of, but in terms of it's a box variant of that.
Yeah.
So, a little bit different.
Yeah, and basically what they did, so there are box Heiko switches. We're not going to even touch this topic, but there are Halo switches and Heiko switches, and they were designed by someone, and there was some issues. Well, that's another story.
And then Heiko has a violet box
They
switch
do.
that looks like a Box Royal and has basically the exact same house,
Pretty
same
much.
color house.
Pretty much. So, but Input Club made the Heiko Royal switch, or sorry, not Heiko Royal, Heiko switches. And basically, what they did is they took the housing of a Box Royal and put in a Heiko clear stem and spring, which just made them such a cool switch. Like, such a cool switch. I remember loving that board. Since the Holy Panda craze and since the um, Zelio V2 craze, I have been all about those switches, but honestly, that is on my radar outside of like creams and inks. So,
Yeah, definitely. I'm thinking about since the creams have been restocked, I kind of want to get some. Thinking about maybe getting some trues as well, some Heiko Royal trues, just to try them out, just see how they are. Because
they're inexpensive.
Yeah.
Well, they are on the higher end of box switches, but comparatively to what you would have to spend to get a box or get a Panda or a V2 Zelio, they're on the cheaper side. They're about half of the price. So
yeah. I mean, you're looking at they're less than the creams by $1, $5.50 for 10 versus $6.50. So it's the same price as a trash panda, as half of a panda.
yep. For the stem, Willio, thank you for the gifted sub to Abracadaniel.
We appreciate you giving Abracadaniel a sub.
So outside of that, some other worthwhile switches. I have not tried the China box switches. I want to eventually. I probably will. Um, but I've not tried them. They came out with some linears and some clicky switches as well. But I did have a box dark yellow that I really liked. I really like as a linear switch. I was like, okay, I can get down with this. Like it was box dark yellows are solid for a linear switch. I think they have like the box China box gray, which is like a 90-gram linear, which sounds right up my alley. But outside of that,
100 gram. I'm looking at it right now. 100
yeah, 100
gram
grams. Sorry,
bottom out, 95 gram actuation. That's an insane, like high actuation versus bottom out.
I need that switch. Good evening, Singapore. Welcome, welcome. But yeah, so you know, some people I will make for the most part that has fixed the retooling issue. Um, I'm not going to say that it is 100% fixed. I'm not going to say that it won't break your keycaps because I can't promise that, but I can't promise that any switch won't break your keycaps. But I will say that there is no one making a current switch that is MX compatible. I understand beam springs are awesome, but at the moment, there's no one making better clicky switches that are MX compatible than Kale and Novel Keys making these box switches with the click bar. So if you're looking for clicky, highly recommend those. And outside of that, just remember them when you're wanting to buy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Take a look at them. I'm looking at these here. Thinking about putting in a novel keys order. Might add some of these China styles. Maybe get like just 10 of each, just to see. Maybe
Just a quick test.
give some over, throw some over Chewy's way so he can test them out and see if he wants to take the plunge into the Ancient Gray. That's such a cool name, Ancient Gray.
Ancient Gray.
Like, you've got Noble Yellow, Chinese Red, Glazed Green. That's the worst name. But Ancient Gray is definitely the coolest name. But yeah, Switches are retooled a lot more than people think. Like, the whole like cherry black thing, cherry like retooled and vintage blacks. That's because the Switch did no longer met cherry standard. That's why the vintage blacks are vintage blacks, because the mold got so used and fell out of line of their spec that they had to make a new mold for it. So it's not out of the realm of normalcy for Switches to fall out of spec for cherry, or fall out of spec for kale, or fall out of spec for Gatoron. Um, Sometimes it just gets caught before you realize it. This is a situation it didn't get caught, and it caused issues in a community that I don't think initially was expected to use the Switch. Um, it's just unfortunate, and it sucks that we lost, keycaps. That there's a whole bunch of really nice GMK sets from that time that are probably worth a ton of money full, without cracked stems, but it happens.
It is what it is. We've moved on. But clicky switches, box royals, still great switch. Heiko royals, still great switches. Highly recommend. If you are worried, not many people said that Enjoy PBT switches were cracking because it's a different plastic. So maybe you want to build an Enjoy PBT board. Go with that. So could be fun. Real quick, sponsor shout out. Switchmod.net. So you can go to switchmod.net/Mechs on deck. I don't know if I have updated the link. I have. So switchmod.net/Mechs on deck. Go ahead and save that in your favorites or on your bookmarks. So you can get 4% off any lubes that you need, your lubing desires. They've got some cool stickers. I got some little. That light is really harsh, but
yeah,
some fun
cool.
little stickers. They're fun.
Little Eyster, little keycaps you showed off at the beginning and on your Switch tester.
Yeah. So check him out. Highly recommend lubes. We just talked about lubing in the last episode. So definitely recommend getting in on that. And then Zap Cables. Zap Cables is a awesome cable making company. We didn't really do a mail call, but I got a bunch of cables from them. I did a way better job sleeving these than I did on the video. If you haven't watched the video, so our promo with them, my voice just cracked for the first time in like 6 years. You should clip that and use it against me. But that is Zap's Discord. I need to make a link for the website. Great cables. He does runs where he'll build them for you. So keep an eye out on that. If you don't want to wait, some DIY kits are available that they are ready to ship. And if you want to know how to make them, we did a video with him of him guiding us through how to make them. So check out that video. So yeah, thanks again, Switch Mod, Zap Cables. Thank you for the sponsorship and partnership with y'all. Yeah. They're also just cool guys.
Yeah, cool dudes. Fun to hang out with. Fun to play video games with. Yeah. I know mail call. We did not do one. I don't have anything yet, but I'm very excited.
Getting stuff in.
Today I got shipment notifications on my order of Zeal switches, both Xylants to complete my Orange 75 rebuild, as well
I'm
as
excited to watch that build.
some 78 gram Zelio V2s for both of us. Quite a few. I think I got like 200 in total.
Jeez, there you go.
And then I've got. Oh, I've been waiting on a Clavier lube station for a while. He's shipping out another one. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy one from One Up because they have it in there as well. So then when his gets here, I'll have two, and I can do, 64 switches. So
Yeah,
I got a notification that shipped out, and both the lube station and the switches should be here Friday.
there you go.
So there is a good chance that you might be seeing a build stream this weekend if I can get everything in. There's a good chance it could happen either Saturday or Sunday, maybe early next week. Who knows? Depends. But that could happen. We'll keep you updated. Join the Discord so you know when it's gonna happen. I'll make posts in there, just so everyone can see that. Hey, Eric's gonna do his Orange 75 rebuild he's been talking about for a month and a half. I'm excited because I didn't realize how much I used certain keys that I don't have on my TX60 at work until I took this, especially because my work just switched over to a brand new system. And now I have to use those keys even more. So I'm like, I really need my Orange 75 back here. So, yeah.
My mail. Like I said, I got these app cables. I am replacing. I'm actually moving away from coiled cables. They look nice, but after about a week of using just the standard cable and kind of making it into a circle and then leaving it, I like that look way more.
Ooh.
I don't know.
A little aesthetic.
So
Little aesthetic.
just different. I was just like, I don't like messing with this. I don't like messing with the coil. I've got some cool cables with the coils, but I also kind of had that like, what'd be cool is if every cable that I had, I made. So I got one for camping. It's like the argon colors. It's green and red. I got a plain one. It's called grayscale, gray and white, that I plan on building. These are just sleeved, not actually finished. And then I wanted to try one of these Tech Flex ones. This isn't like actually Tech Flex. It's whatever the nicer one is, but it's white and gold with white paracord underneath. Really like that one. So
Fancy.
that's
Yeah. I still need to buy
it's thick, dude.
I still need to buy some DIY kits. I got to build at least one more, I think, or two more. Two more. Yeah, I got to build two more. So I've got the one that's kind of our Mechs on deck, which is actually going to go to work with me with my Orange 75, at least for the time being. Because my TX60 does not have USB-C. It's got
big rip,
mini, but
and grayscale was for GMK9s.
GMK9s.
Board I put that on.
Oof. Yeah, we're excited.
And then this white gold, perfect for the Lumina. And if that ships in the next year and a half. Anyway,
I'm thinking it will. They're making progress. The strives.
They are.
Today we got a nice little post. We're hoping both Chewy and I are. He's gotten the cameo white. I'm on the deep black quartz. Those are said to be in the first round. We don't know if it's going to be the brass ones or not. I'm assuming probably not. But who knows? Maybe we could get our Luminas pretty quick.
Yep. Real quick, little self plug. Some of you, if you guys have Twitch Prime, you can spend a free sub for 1 month for Twitch Prime. So if you have Twitch Prime and you want to sub, and you haven't subbed to anybody else, sub to us. We got some cool content coming up. We've got some cool giveaways coming up. But outside of that, I bought the Fiel.
Ooh.
We talked about that 2 weeks ago. So I got in on the Fiel. Metallic Charles and I woke up at 4 a.m. Central Time, and yeah, that was a tough morning. And then Fiel, I got a gray one, so I have Moto. Basically, what's funny is when I was sitting there like figuring out, I have like a Excel spreadsheet that's got the stuff that I own or stuff that's coming in. And I was like, oh, what will look cool? And I was like, oh man, the Fiel in gray with the gray Fiel with modern Dolce, and then I've got like some Holy Red Pandas and I was like, I'm rebuilding the build that Nathan Kim built.
That's what I was like. I was like, you're gonna build what Nathan did, huh?
It's got different springs though.
That's true. That's true.
So,
It's been
but if not,
chewy-fied.
it might look good because that I do think that the GMK9s, that gray is going to be darker
Yeah.
than what I've been seeing. So that could also work. So one of those two, but it's going to have Holy Red Pandas. I got the new PCB as well. Excited to see that. It'll be my first Wilba PCB. But yeah. So outside of that, I got a new bed,
Nice.
new mattress. Super stoked about that. We like got it all set up, and this was so it shipped to us, and I went and worked out. Sorry, quick pause. I'm going to tell this story, but if you have any questions, just add us in the comments so we can make it easily read, because I am blind as a bat. So if you have any questions for us, any questions about box switches, other switches, anything, I'm going to tell this dumb story. I went to go work out, and then I came back, and yes, I do work out, just not very hard. I don't look like I work out, but I did. And I come back and I get this. We got a Casper mattress, so it ships in this like box that's like
tiny comparatively.
4 feet. Yeah, comparatively to what it is, it's like 4 feet tall and like a foot and a half across on each side. And I was like, oh man, all right, well, I don't want to be like sweaty, and so we were like, well, we're hungry, so let's eat. And then took a shower and then chilled for a few minutes. And they're like, all right, let's go like actually test out the bed and lay in it for the first time. And within 10 minutes, I fell asleep because my mattress was like 9.5 years old. And when I picked it up to move it, I realized that there are 2 springs that were completely bent in half on one side, and there were holes in the bottom. And I was like, good, because that thing's moved with me.
I was about to say it's moved like 6 or 7
times, something like that. It's just, and I didn't rotate it like I should, so I should have done a video, but I was too excited.
They're pretty nuts. I've seen the YouTube videos of those. Like I've thought, like I have a still relatively new mattress. I bought it when Chewy and I were actually living together, which was like what I bought it probably 3 years ago now. 3.5.
2016, I think. So
but every time I go and I look and see those like Casper or like Purple mattress like commercials on like YouTube or just online, I'm like, man, that'd be sweet. Those look so comfy.
They're very comfy. Can confirm. Very fun to watch open. And so you like unroll it, and it's literally like that big, like no joke. And my wife was even saying, she's just like, why on earth, like how is this going to be comfortable? Like, there's no way this could be comfortable. And so I opened it and ripped the side, and it just went, and it just popped up so fast. I was like, what on earth? And so it was cool to watch grow. But yeah, it happens like really fast though. So don't just like when they say like, oh, just move it into the bed. No, absolutely move. Anyway. So last but not least, Eric and I were talking. This is our last announcement. We were talking last night, actually. And so we've got a special guest for next week. And we were talking and came up with a fun idea because we've been in talks about bringing a couple more guests on. And so for July, Eric, why don't you tell us what we're going to be doing?
Yeah, so big thing in the community last couple months has been the increase in keycap group buys happening. Tons and tons of group buys. One thing we want to do, we're going to have a different keycap group buy runner every week.
Designer.
Or designer, yeah, every week. Some of them run the keycap buys as well. So there's going to be different people talking about different aspects. Sometimes it'll be the same things going on in each video, but we're going to try to make it a little bit different and get different people and get different aspects of what they did, how they designed the board, how they came up with it, just the entire process of going from not having an idea to having an interest checked to having a group buy, finding a vendor, some other stuff like that. So we're really, really excited to work with different designers. I think we still, I believe, are looking for a couple. I don't know. One more. So
we've got 4. So we got lucky. July 31st. That 5th week is a Wednesday. But we've got our first 4 weeks locked in with some very, very, very exciting group buy or keycap designers. So I'm very excited. Some of them have already ran. Some of them will be running. Some of them will be running soon. So it'll be very, very exciting. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited as someone who hasn't run a group buy myself or designed a keycap set, or I'm not really 100%, knowledgeable about the entire process of that. I'm really excited to kind of talk to the different designers that we're going to have on and figure out kind of the different variants in their style and the way that they do things, and talk to them about the entire process from start to finish. So that way, we can have a good time. Looks like Chewy's video just cut out. It's coming back. There he is.
I'm back. Sorry.
But yeah, join our Discord. Join our Discord so you know when we're gonna go live, and we might spoil who we're going live with. We might hype it up a little bit. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So, other than that, not a lot of questions, but like I said, join us in the Discord. Hit us with that Twitch Prime sub if you have it available. If not, just following or just being here, we appreciate it. We very much appreciate it. So, thank you. We've got hopefully that orange stream will happen between now and next Wednesday. That would be ideal.
This is Chewy subtly telling me, Eric, you need to do the dang stream.
Flipping do it.
Yeah, we'll see if everything comes in. That's the caveat to that situation. Is if everything comes in when it's supposed to, then we will have the stream happen. I also might have to work on Saturday, but Sunday would probably be when it would happen. So
nice. So what we're gonna do now is let's raid someone, and I know exactly who
are we raiding?
We're gonna our homeboy, man of interest. We're gonna throw him big raid. So once again, switchmod.net, and for use that promo code Mechs on deck. Switchmod.net helps get yourself some lube, zap cables. Go check those guys out. Get your DIY kits.
Supports us too. Don't forget that.
It does. It supports us.
Helps us out.
Supports us. Also, make your stuff look cool. I mean, you spend what $300-400 on a keyboard. You want to use a little black cable, unless your setup's all black. But if you just want to, if you use these little rubber black cables, no, make them look cool, because it's like $15 tops. I'm kidding. You don't have to, but it's fun, and they you can get them to match your keycaps. Why not? So, thank you guys. Yeah. have it. We're gonna start rating Huey. And if you, by the way, if you, so like we can talk about this. If you joined in, if you watch the end of the video of the Zap cable, we'll be announcing next week on who won that cable. The Zap cable offer is officially over. It ended yesterday. But so we were giving away. So John from Zap built a cable with us to kind of walk us through, and he built a rainbow cable. And if you watch to the end, we said we were giving it away. So the winner of the giveaway will be announced on next Tuesday's episode. So be sure to watch that. Check out, see if you won. I have already noted who has entered. So if you want to go comment, just know that you will not be entered anymore. But thank you for doing it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's time we can go ahead and
get that raid. Go join Man of Interest. Buy a Switch tester.
bye now. On deck, hosting me with 17 viewers. Thank you, Mechs on deck, and hello everyone here.